What's up, Rockets Nation? Liam Garcia here, and today we've got some major talking points regarding the direction of our season. So go ahead and subscribe, smash that like button, and let's dive right into the analysis. We've got updates on a trade that split the fan base last offseason, which now seems to be justifying itself with cold, hard facts. Plus, our recent loss exposed a rotation issue we need to discuss. The solution might be simpler than it looks, but it requires some tactical adjustments from our head coach. Are we actually maximizing this roster's potential? Let's break it down right now. Remember when we traded Cam Whitmore to a Washington Wizards last summer? That sparked a huge debate. A lot of fans were worried, thinking we gave away a young scorer for a low return. Just 2 second-round picks. Seemed like a small price for someone with that much offensive upside, right? Well, the current landscape offers a new perspective. Wizards head coach Brian Keith recently made some comments that reinforce Ime Udoka's disciplinary stance. In an interview, Keith was crystal clear about the situation. We have certain standards that we have for our team. He has to live up to those. The word standards carries a lot of weight here, folks. This goes beyond making or missing shots. It's about tactical and collective commitment. And honestly, this sounds all too familiar to us. Despite his athleticism, Whitmore struggled to fit into the team-first culture Houston is building. The expectation was that in Washington, a rebuilding team, he'd have the ultimate green light and plenty of minutes. The theory was he'd play 30 minutes and drop 20 points a night. But the reality is brutal. Whitmore is averaging about 16.9 minutes per game, basically the same playing time he had here last year. On top of that, his offensive efficiency isn't there. He's shooting 28.6% from three, with a 52.8% true shooting percentage, which are low numbers for today's NBA. Another point validating Udoka's decision is the passing issue. He's averaging just 1.5 assists per 75 possessions. The offense often stalls in his hands, killing the flow. Brian Keefe is fighting to fit him into the rotation, just like Udoka did. The difference is, now that's Washington's headache. Whitmore has a natural talent for scoring. That's undeniable. But in the modern NBA, if you don't defend and you don't pass, you severely limit your ceiling, especially when questions arise about off-court attitude. Today, that trade is starting to look like highway robbery for the Rockets. Raphael Stone prioritized team culture. Washington is dealing with his development while we focus on a more cohesive group. I'll take a focused team any day. But that wasn't the only thing that stood out this week. Saturday's game raised a major tactical red flag. That brings us to the game against the Dallas Mavericks on Saturday. Losing is part of the sport, but the way we played raises some questions. We were without Alperen Sengun, who was sick, and Steven Adams, who was resting. Without our main bigs, we were left with Clint Capella. Having Capella as a third-string option is a luxury because of his experience, but in that 122-109 loss, it became evident that relying too heavily on him against a dynamic, fast-paced team spells trouble. Capella tried, but he just doesn't have that same mobility anymore. The main point here isn't that Capella played, but rather Ime Udoka's refusal to adapt the scheme when the situation calls for it. The Rockets have great front-court options, but when the starters are out, we need alternatives. Why didn't we see more of Jabari Smith Jr. playing the five? I get that Udoka's philosophy is built on size and physical force. But against Dallas, even winning the rebounding battle 37-31 wasn't enough because we lacked the spacing and speed to keep up with their rotation. Think about the tactics. Jabari at the 5. This would force the opposing rim protector out of the paint to contest the 3-ball. Anthony Davis, using him as an example of an elite defender, would struggle to guard the perimeter and protect the rim at the same time. This would open up driving lanes for Amen Thompson and, crucially, Make life easier for Kevin Durant. With KD on the squad, we need to create favorable scenarios for him. A clogged paint with Capella, who doesn't shoot from outside, takes away vital operating space. Last season, Jabari played 32% of his minutes at center. This season, that number has dropped to just 4%. It feels like a waste of versatility. A lineup with Jabari, KD, Josh Okogie, Amen, and Shepherd would give us a modern, fast dynamic, ideal for when the traditional lineup isn't available. Capella should be a safe, break glass in case of emergency option, not the only one. UDOKA needs to consider that flexibility is a virtue. Sengun and Adams will be back, but these absences will happen again. We need to be ready to play small and fast when necessary. Sticking to a rigid model when the pieces don't fit could cost us important wins, especially with a roster this talented. Bottom line, nation, we have two clear scenarios. On one hand, Whitmore's exit looks more justified by the day as we maintain our culture. On the other, the rigidity in the rotation is worrying. Having an elite roster and not using Jabari at the 5 in Sengun's absence feels like a missed opportunity. I want to know your opinion. Seeing his performance in Washington, was the trade the right move? And on tactics, should UDOKA stick to traditional bigs or try Jabari at the 5? Sound off in the comments. Drop a like and I'll catch you next time.